When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. When I am on your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Hi there! My name is Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye, and I am the founder of the Peak Network. Our mantra is building a mentally healthy continent. We believe that in Africa, we must help people develop mental resilience. As Africans and Nigerians and, blacks generally, there is a common cultural bias that you go to pastors, you go to imams, you go to the elders in your family to talk about your issues. But guess what? The world has grown, and right now we're dealing with a global mental health challenge. So we believe as members of the Peak Mental Health Network that we can reach every single African with the message of lifestyle choices. So in our curriculum, what we do is to teach lifestyle modifications. things that you could do in your everyday lifestyle to improve your mental wellness. And in doing this, we're able to come up with 5 basic subgroups. The first subgroup is corporate. In the corporate subgroup, we'll go to corporate offices to teach members of staff how to live a mentally healthy life in the workplace. We have the Peak Network education, where we go to universities, secondary schools, primary schools, and every other higher institution, where we teach these students how to live with positive mental health habits. Then we also have the Peak Network media. We go to radio, we go to TV, we do the traditional media, newspapers, prints, and all of that, where we encourage people and teach them mental health awareness. We also have the Peak Network religion. We go to churches, we go to mosques, and we adapt the curriculum to suit the language of this environment. And lastly, we have Peak Network community. In the community subgroup, what we do is that we go to markets, we meet ballets, we meet KBSCs, we meet the kings, both in the north and the south and all over. We go to estates, we go to streets. We just go to the streets and teach people in street language, depending also on the community in which they live in. We teach them positive mental health habits because our goal is building a mentally healthy continent.
Welcome everybody to this beautiful day. Honestly speaking, I'm super excited because we have amazing panelists to be able to deal with the topic that we have today. This is the Peak Network, and my name is Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye, and I'm privileged to be the founder of this amazing global network. And of course, what basically we do is to teach behavioral modification for mental wellness. Now, I would encourage that you go to our website at www.thepeaknetwork.org to find out more about us. We talk about men's mental health, we talk about women's mental health, and we talk about the mental health of kids and adolescents. And we have materials there for you. Today, we're privileged to be sharing with you this exciting topic, the birthing of care. Supporting the supporter. Who cares for the caregivers? Who provides support, psychosocial support, or any other kind of support for the caregiver? A lot of caregivers blame themselves for what's going on with the people who they are taking care of. And honestly speaking, because of the community in which we're in, we have not so many systemic how do we put it now? So many systemic structures that helps people take care of their loved ones. So we're talking people having mental and emotional challenges. We're talking people dealing with substance abuse. We're talking people who have long-term and chronic illnesses. There is just the burnout that caregivers and people who provide support for those who are ill, there's just this burnout that they do experience. And we thought to put this together so that we're going to help such people. So you find out that they really do not even have support groups, where they can share together and all of that. But I have been privileged to work with 1 or 2 support groups. The support group for mothers and fathers who are dealing with who have special needs children, and they usually have this monthly meet in Lagos, Nigeria. And I've also, have the privilege of meeting one of our facilitators today, of course, is Mrs. Fadikwe. You get to meet her in a second, and she organizes this support meetings for mothers and fathers who have children who are dealing with substance abuse. So wherever you are in this situation, it is our privilege and our honor to welcome you to this amazing session. And I do hope that you have an amazing time. We have we have 4 experts this afternoon who will be doing justice to this topic. I'm going to start first of all with Wesley Willis. Wesley, the seed for helping others for him was planted when he witnessed his mother's passion as a foster care social worker with the Division of Child Welfare. He began volunteering with this department during his high school years. Upon graduation from Telaga High School, he was inspired by his family to enter into the field of nursing, and he earned his associate in applied sciences, that's AAS, with a major in nursing from Central Alabama Community College, CACC, in the year 2000. During undergrad, he was inspired further by several dynamic and fascinating professors in the Department of Social Work while attending Alabama State University, where he obtained his Bachelor of Social Work in 2002. It was from these professors' interest, investment, and encouragement that he went on to pursue and complete a master's in social work at the University of Alabama in 2003. He later obtained a Master's of Science in Public Safety from Auburn University, Montgomery in 2004. As he gained professional experience, Wesley continued his education in human behavior and obtained his doctorate of psychology from Argosy University in 2010 and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing BSN from Herbert H. Lehman College in Bronx, New York in 2011. Wesley started his own practice, RHIO Wellness, Reflective Healing and Inspiring Outcomes in 2010, with the goal of meeting the holistic mental and physical health needs with a practice in the District of Columbia, New York City, and upstate New York. He currently serves as a president for the New York State chapter of American Psychiatric Nurses Association. He is a board of trustee of Herbert Tubman Charter School in Bronx, New York, an active member of Sigma Theta Tau International Honor Society of Nursing, chair of the fundraising committee of the New York City chapter of National Black Nurses Association, and a co-moderator for the New York State Society of Clinical Social Workers. He is licensed in the professions of psychology, clinical social work, and nursing. Wesley is a man of many parts. Oh my goodness. Wesley, I am intimidated with your profile.
Thank you so much. Like, as you read it, I was like, wow, yeah, that's right. Those were the years. And now I'm an older professional.
It's an amazing, it's amazing having you. And may I also put it out that Wesley, aside being my friend, has also hosts he hosts shows, and he has this regular podcasts every Sunday. You could go to his website, The Nurse Doc, and you will enjoy the multiple resources that he's gone on there. Thank you and welcome, Wesley.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm super excited to be on this
I would like
panel.
to welcome our next facilitator, who is my boss and mentor. She groomed me in so many areas in my private life, in professionally, and she's someone who is very dear to my heart. Her name is Mrs. Olayinka Oshuntogu, and she is an experienced nursing consultant and operational excellence expert. She is a seasoned registered nurse and midwife of over 35 years. She obtained nursing and midwifery degrees from schools of nursing and midwifery in Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Idiaraba, Lagos, before she proceeded to the University of Ibadan to obtain her BSc Nursing, specializing in education and graduating with a second-class upper division. She has a postgraduate diploma in management from South Bank University, London, and an MSc in management from the University of Liverpool in the United Kingdom. She is a member of the National Association of Nursing and the Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, and a member of the Ohio Board of Nursing, Ohio, USA. Olayinka is an accomplished public speaker and the managing director of Chris Gloria Nursing Agency, which was set up in 2008. The agency has flourished since then and continues to grow, managing operations of over 300 staff. Chris Gloria Nursing Agency provides nursing care services for people in the environment of their choice. Olayinka is passionate about nursing and committed to raising nursing practical standards and professionalism in Nigeria to heights comparable with international standards. And I can actually attest to that. She is a driver of excellence and believes in professional approach to work at all levels. This inspired her setting up curricular management services, a training outfit with primary objectives, building individuals through soft skills training. She presently serves in advisory capacity to several reputable health institutions. Her contributions have been recognized in some publications, which include Women in Business 2011, WIMBIS, and Women Working for Women publication. An award winner in the 2019 People and Power National Awards for Women Merit Gold Award in Home Care Nursing Service in Nigeria. She is married to Adetayo Oshitogun, who is a seasoned and accomplished lawyer, and they are blessed with children. Welcome, Mrs. Oshitogun. Welcome. Okay, so we can see that going on. She will join us just in a bit. I'd like to welcome our third facilitator, Dr. Bonjubola Abiri. Dr. Bonjubola Abiri is a consultant psychiatrist and a managerial psychologist, professional speaker, and the medical director of Tranquil and Quest Behavioral Health Lagos. She is a co-author of the book Mental Health in the Workplace. I'm looking at her face and I'm smiling. She is a fellow of the West Africa College of Physicians, a member of Nigerian Medical Association, the Employee Assistant Professional Association, IPA, and the American Psychiatric Association, APA. She has received trainings from King's College London, the University of Washington, and the prestigious Harvard University, Boston, USA. Passionate about research in child and adolescent forensic, women's mental health, and occupational mental health. Bonjubola is a mental health advocate. Yes, I can surely attest to that. And she does these beautiful and amazing animations. Oh my world, where she teaches, quite a bit with that. So yes, she is a mental health advocate who is driven by the holistic view to health, and as such is a regular voice on various print and electronic media, where she utilizes illustrations and indigenous language to reach her audience. She also uses her knowledge in psychiatry and psychology to influence and maximize effectiveness and productivity in the workplace via the Employee Assistance Program. She volunteers with the Adorable Foundation International, which is an NGO against drug abuse, the Asido Foundation, and the Live Well Initiative. She currently volunteers with Lagos State COVID-19 Psychosocial Response Team as a means of contributing her own quota to the fight against the pandemic. She works with the THR Media as a consultant psychiatrist and a sexual and gender-based violence advocate. She is a member of the Global Advisory Council of Joy Incorporated. Dr. Bonjubola Abiri. You're welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you too?
So we have Ms. Oshitogun right here. Mrs. Oshitogun, I did have the pleasure of welcoming you on screen. You're welcome, ma'am. Good to have you. I must also say that Bonjubola is my friend, and honestly speaking, we've gone way back, and she's doing quite an amazing job. And I can also say that she seeks to help wherever she can. She's just seeking to help everybody whoever is just willing to accept the help that she's ready to offer. So I would like to welcome our third guest, our fourth rather panelist, Mrs. Fadipe Ololade. She has worked for 26 years with Lagos State Ministry of Health, LASU. She rose from the rank of staff nurse midwife to an assistant director. She is learned in nursing. She has had 2 degrees, bachelor's degree in health education and bachelor's degree in nursing, and a master's degree in nursing with a specialty in maternal and child health. She is currently running her PhD program in the University of Ibadan, let me pronounce that well, where she's also had diploma courses in nursing, like accident and emergency nursing, diploma in anesthesia, and also so many certifications both in Nigeria and abroad. She is a seasoned clinical nurse and an adjunct lecturer. Mrs. Fadipe,
it's the network.
welcome. And it's also a great privilege to be welcoming you on this amazing event. I remember that you particularly initiated this to say that we have to do this. Yes, it's been something I'd wanted to do, but you were so particular about the fact that we needed to do it now, because I know you do run a support group for mothers and fathers who have children who are dealing with substance abuse. Welcome, everybody. I can see everybody right here on the screen. You're all welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you all. So I'm going to give 5 minutes to everybody, and I'll start with Wesley and go to Mr. Laika Shogu, go to Dr. Bojubula Abiri, and then lastly to Mrs. Fadipe. I will give you 5 minutes to share with us your thoughts about the topic and your opening before we go to the question and answer segment. So let's start with you, Wesley. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. So I wouldn't call it, I think, extensive knowledge. I have worked in the area within 10 years. So my practice and history in this particular area, I've worked in chemical dependency and substance abuse, both on an inpatient side, from those who are actively trying to stop their use, or, to be quite honest with it, decrease their use, and grappling with substance use and substance use disorders. So I've worked in a very acute setting, both as a nurse and also as a psychotherapist. So again, seeing individuals, dealing with families who are struggling with a loved one who is actively using. And those individuals being brought in physically, sometimes against their will, and sometimes just recognizing that I'm just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. So from working from that particular aspect, also I've had the joys of working with caregivers in South Africa, the Mothers to Mother Project, for individuals who aren't familiar with that particular work. For several years, I've been able to train and work with caregivers who are working to end pediatric AIDS in South Africa. So that work consisting of training caregivers who work in the community, being community workers, peers, who work with their other sisters and community members to try to end pediatric AIDS and also the transmission of HIV. And it's been in all of it, it's been an incredible joy. The biggest part of what I loved about it is working with the caregivers. I remember my very first year of working with caregivers being very an overly zealous clinician, saying, I'm going to go teach these, women who work in this particular area, all of these great self-care needs, and how to take care of yourself, and how to have great boundaries, and how to be mentally healthy. And they were like, that sounds great, but the person that I work with lives next door to me, and how do you turn that off? And it was just such an incredible experience. Still get emotional. But yeah, this is an incredibly important topic for me because I am so passionate about those of us who are out here fighting the good fight. It's impossible to love people and distance yourself from people and do this for 9 to 5. So yeah, I love helping us be healthy and learning kind of like how to take ourselves out of the experience and not viewing ourselves as failures, and you know, kind of going and be able to be loving and joyful for our partners, for our husbands, our wives, our children, so that you can do this for 25 to 30 years, right?
Right.
Because if you love it, you want to continue to have that passion and that fire, and nothing makes me more satisfied than clinicians that get great joy out of the work that we do.
I agree. I totally agree. And I know that, honestly speaking, we don't even recognize sometimes that we're burnt out as much as we give. I would like to give the floor straight to Mr. Shitogu so that she gives her, so she has 5 minutes. Mr. Shitogu, are you there, ma'am? Hello, ma'am. Are you there? Okay, so we'll just move on straight to Dr. Benjamin-Olaoye so that she has her 5 minutes, and then we'll have Mr. Shitogu if she's back. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. And good evening to all the other facilitators as well. I'd like to start out by, asking this rhetorical question about how we take care of everyone else, who takes care of us, and then how, the caregiver takes care of the one who is ill, or the one who is disabled, or the one who cannot help themselves, but then who takes care of the caregiver. And, very quickly, I'm reminded of the conversation that I had with my younger brother yesterday night when he saw me put up this post on my Instagram handle. And he says, the burden of care? I said, yeah. He said, I don't get. I said, what exactly don't you get? He said, the burden of care. I said, well, it's a thing, it's a concept. He said, burden sounds very negative. Responsibility almost carries the same message, but isn't negative sounding. And he said to me that, saying that a burden of care is in itself somewhat blamey. A handful of these people didn't ask for their conditions. So the truth is, I'm particularly excited that we're speaking about this topic tonight, and thankful to, Mrs. Fadipa, who you said urged you on to have this topic. Because the truth is, there are caregivers all around. There are caregivers who take care of their loved ones, caregivers who are not even equipped with skills, the fine skills to take care of their loved ones. And then there's us as health caregivers who also give care to, the teeming population of people who definitely need the care. Interestingly, there's a Yoruba adage that says that when you're taking care of the one who is ill, you should actually try to find time to take care of yourself. But that's one of the challenges of taking care of people around here in this part of the world. The fact that you neglect your own care, you neglect your own self, you put your own needs or your own concerns at the back seat, and you're in, continuous drive for that person who needs that care at that time. So it's what we've seen over time. And, in practice over the years, either I was dealing with children with chronic medical or physical condition or mental health conditions as well, or I'm dealing with adults who have chronic medical or mental health conditions, including, of course, the ones that I'm dealing with very currently, substance abuse. Substance abusers. I mean, I was just smiling when Wesley was saying, people sometimes need to be taken against their will. I have seen, relatives break down in my office, parents, siblings, loved ones crying because, they feel like they have added up to here and they honestly don't know what else it is that they should do. So the caregiver burden, of course, is real. It's a reality, and it's not something that we talk about quite a lot because the focus very often is on the one who needs and requires the care, not the one who is giving it, and not even the one who is not even skilled enough to give the care. So I'm extremely happy and excited that, this is a topic of discourse for us this evening. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So let's move on to Ms. Fadipa quickly. I love that opening. It clearly speaks our mind and the reason why this is a topic that we're willing to talk about. So, Mrs. Fadipa, let's have you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted and I'm happy to be here. And it's been a burden on me You know, I said it in my write-up that I've been working for the past 26 years. I've seen a lot about patients and their relatives. And like Dr. Willie said, there are so many cases that, you know, the relation cannot but just live with the situation. Somebody with autism, um, um, Down syndrome, cancer patient, substance abuse, HIV, all congenital abnormalities. The relation just need to stay, just live with the situation. Then the question now comes up with, why me? Why am I the only one? What is going to happen? And at the end of the day, there's nothing they can do. They cannot kill these people. They just need to take care of them like a normal person going in and out of the hospital. You can see stress on the relatives' faces. Then what is the care to these people? How can we make them feel like this is normal? Like outside the country, now developed country, you know, there's a particular allowance according to what they told me that are given to parents of Down syndrome, of congenital abnormality, you know, even teenage pregnancy. There's some amount of money given to them. But here in Nigeria, they are left alone. I know of a patient that the wife that is taking care of the patient had accident while crossing the express just in front of my hospital. You know, they have a lot of body, nowhere to really relax, you know, all these things. Now, I just have the burden of particularly substance abuse because most of the time, the parents of these children don't say it out because our culture see it as the mother, the parents didn't really take care of the child. That's why the child goes into substance abuse. Then they keep on having, but I'm just afraid because the numbers of children or teenagers or adolescents that are going into this substance abuse is increasing by the day. Now, what is the solution? Will they continue to lament and cry? Is there hope for these children? What can they do as parents to support themselves, to be emotionally strong, to face what they have? Can these children, these substance abuse children, get out of it? What are those things that we can do for them to really help? It's becoming burden on me because I can see that the future with the increasing numbers of substance abuse is not secure at all. This is my submission, and I had to call Dr. Olaoye that please, what can we do to help? Thank you.
Right. Okay, so the PhD will come soon. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ololade Fadipe, for that opening. I'd like to ask this question straight because we have very limited time, and I know that we need to cover a lot of ground. Wesley, I would like to start with you.
Yes.
We oftentimes, and I loved what Dr. Abiri's brother pointed out, that, you know, and that's the narrative. And actually, we know that the burden of care, you know, for us professionals, we know that the burden of care is a concept, but that's not known to, you know, the person who is, you know, not in the field. But then there is the challenge of the fact that, you know, people are not sure if their loved ones are burdens or not. People are not even sure sometimes where to place it. So there is the argument that their loved ones have probably not done anything to, you know, to ask to be in that situation. There is also the thin line where some of these behavioral challenges is a function of lifestyle and choices. So caregivers are then burdened with caring for this for their loved ones, despite the fact that they didn't take the right choices in life, right? And there is also the fact that these caregivers also didn't ask to be in the situation. They've got their own personal challenges going on for them, you know. So, but wrapping this up, the question I want to ask is, how do caregivers deal with two? I know it's a lot to put in one question, but because of our time,
yes.
How do caregivers deal with these two concepts, blame and guilt? Blame and guilt. How do caregivers deal with this?
Well, first, I'd like to definitely just, we just have to own that there's a cost to caring, to the cost to, I guess in some ways in the American term, the cost of giving a damn. There is a cost to that. And in terms of dealing with blame as it relates to whether it be substance abuse, whether it be mental health, again, the child or parent who struggles with depression, because we have to talk about kind of like this two-way street, because I have children who are in therapy who are children of adult parents who use substances. I have children who are caregivers to parents with, whether it be like MS or whether it be something with depression. And so it goes two ways. It's not just from a parental, it's a really kind of like familial kind of thing going on. And everybody's blaming themselves. Everybody's saying, well, what did I do? How did I miss this? Why doesn't my family look like what I see on Instagram? Why doesn't it look like what I see, on the Huxtables or on TV? Luckily, reality TV is so dysfunctional that, even if you look at the Kardashians, they're screaming and they're throwing things at each other. But the truth is, blaming is in some ways healthy, because it requires you kind of take a step back and say, what roles do I play? What roles do all of us play in terms of our family member getting well? I think the most important part of that is just coming out on the positive side of that and recognizing that there is no one person, that there are systemic issues. So we look at, as a clinician in the United States, and I'm incredibly passionate about global health and about global mental health. And I think that as Africans, whether we be Africans in America or Africans in the diaspora, throughout the diaspora, I think that we take it so harshly when a family member or when people who look like us struggle and are hurting. And we have to kind of like say, you know what, recognize there is a role. This is both systemic, which you have no control over, and then intergenerational, and learning to how to break those through open communication. We don't talk a lot in families of color still about things like molestation and sexual abuse and the uncle who killed themselves. And we really have to, if we want to break those feelings of blame, is recognizing that we play a role and hosting community things where we have communication and caregiver support.
Awesome. Dr. Abiri, I wanted to add to that, and I want you to drive on that. Honestly, because I know that this is a big deal. And in my opinion, I know that if caregivers or people who are providing support are able to deal with this challenge of guilt and blame, right? Okay, you caused it, or I caused it, or if they're able to deal with this, I know that half of the problem will be solved. So pardon me if I'm not gliding over this question. I'd like you to please take a ride on that and speak to it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the question. And I think, in addition to what Wesley has also said, is the fact that I will tell you that blame and guilt are normal. They're normal responses to, significant stressful life events that we may face from time to time. Every once in a while, you would blame yourself. I mean, a few months ago, I lost my grandma, and it was amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. I couldn't reach her. And I feel like we tried everything that we could, but that guilt was still there. That blame was still there. They are normal responses. And every once in a while, even people who are taking care of their relatives who are either chronically ill, either, brought on by lifestyle or by definitely no fault of theirs. There are things that normal individuals would react with. However, there's then that point where you need to be able to step in, sit back, and then reflect on what exactly you are feeling guilty or blaming yourself about. I'm currently managing a young boy who the mother is allowing the guilt to eat her up. She's blaming herself for so many things. Oh, I was the one that took this decision. And Someone who was not even a mental health worker was able to identify it. And the person had to say to her, Madam, you need to take it easy on yourself. Because if you keep blaming yourself, if you keep putting yourself in that guilt seat, chances are, even when the opportunity for help for this child comes up, you may not be willing to embrace it. So it's okay to blame yourself every once in a while. It's okay to feel guilty, but you must be able to know when that thin line is being crossed. And then you are going from, a normal response to a stress to a distressing point where you are then, at that point where caring then becomes a burden. Because the truth is, we can actually care without it being a burden. It's our perception of how we care for that individual. The disparity between the care that we are given and us looking at the skills that we have. It is at that point, the greater the disparity where you look at, oh wow, this care is huge and I don't have the skills to cope. The greater that disparity, the more likely you start to feel that what you are doing is a burden. It takes a lot to be able to cope. It is difficult, especially when you're not in those shoes. It's difficult to imagine what those individuals are going through because you're not there morning, you're not there afternoon. Of course, depending on the particular condition, the peculiarities of their situation, whether or not they have, physical resources, emotional resources, spiritual resources, financial resources to be able to cater to that situation. It may be difficult to fully explain it. But then again, like I said, it's okay to feel guilty, to blame yourself every once in a while, but also be able to recognize when you're crossing over from that line of a response to distress. Thank you.
Fantastic. And to dysfunction. Thank you. Mrs. Fadikwe, I'd like to ask you quickly, how do you propose, or in your line of work and in your experience, how do you propose that we handle people, or people who are ill, or I don't want to use certain terms. I'm very careful as to using certain terms for them. I would like to ask, how do you propose for someone who needs care but is refusing care? The caregiver is able to be out of the situation to say that, oh, you need therapy, but you need intervention. Okay, if it's cancer, you need chemotherapy. The caregiver is also burdened with the fact that I see what's good for you, but the person is refusing. How do you propose families deal with that?
Thank you so much. That question is very pertinent to what we are discussing. Right. How do we care for the family, for the carer? I think what we actually needed, like the patient as consultants to see to the primary cause of the illness, likewise the relatives needs psychotherapy, needs psychological support. There's nothing bad in calling somebody calling the relation at the beginning of the whole thing. This looks like autistic child, or this is a congenital abnormal baby, and you have to, or this is a Down syndrome baby, and calling the father and the mother and sitting them down, explaining to them into detail the language they understand about the situation. So there will be no need for them to go from one pastor to herbalist to this, and by that you give them first-class information on how to calm down. Sorry, I have to use that. How to calm down and how to take care of this child. Explaining to them in detail, unlike just leaving them to the blues. Yes, this child is not normal, and that is it. And they will continue to be praying. And with time, the body, the stress, the blame will come up. But if from the inception, from the beginning, you have explained to them, and that's why we need psychosocial care to be attached to the hospital, even in the loss of loved ones. When the condition is deteriorating, or when the patient comes in with cancer, does anybody care about the emotional feelings of the relation? Do we call them and sit them down that, see, this is the case, and well, we believe in God in this part of the world, we believe strongly in God, but then this is the situation. This is you prepare their mind so they don't see it as burden. For the substance abuse, what are those things we can tell the parents? What happened? How can we form a formidable group to fight against such occurrence? Do we go to any secondary school to tell them about substance abuse? Do we go to primary school to tell them about substance abuse? How can we stop this menace in our society? Thank you. I think I have a
Awesome.
lot to
Awesome.
say.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Shitogun, are you there? Mr. Shitogun, we have missed you in this conversation. Can you hear us? Mrs. Oshitogu, can you hear us? Oh dear, can you hear us? Okay. Can you hear us, ma'am? Can you hear us? Oh my, this network.
I would love to.
I think it's a problem. It's a problem everywhere, and we have no choice but to deal with it.
I'm back.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. The question I have for you, you run a nursing agency and you try to provide alternative, support for people so that people can live their lives, so families can live their lives. The question I have for you is, how has this been and how is this thriving? And aside that, particularly, I want you to address how family members can keep themselves happy. I know it's a state. I usually would try to avoid the word happy, but for the purpose of conversation, I'd like to ask, how can relatives, loved ones keep themselves, happy and active and, resilient through the process
All right, thank you.
Caring for their loved ones?
Okay, thank you very much. A lot of what I've observed is that a lot of family members feel guilty initially because maybe someone has told them that your mother took care of her own mother and the grandmother took care of the great grandmother. So when it comes to taking up the service of professionals, some family members are hesitant. So what we do is, and then you hear people say, oh, there's really nothing wrong with mama. She just needs a little bit of support. I actually am just trying to find out the services you have. It's obvious that the guilt is there. So how do we manage this? You need to listen to the person and then let the person have the full information. This is where communication comes in. You let the person have the full information that you have. Let the person realize that if he or she continues to take full care, of the family member without having a me time, a time for himself or herself, he or herself might actually break down. This is where the nursing agency comes up. And this is where we now render our own professional care. We have the registered nurses that take care of clients that are ill. And we can actually nurse clients that are really, really ill at home. Like, there's some clients that if they're in the hospital, they might be there for the next 6 months. So they can be managed at home, strictly nursing. The doctors will play their own parts and come to see the client, but we will take good care of the clients at home. We also have the nursing assistants, those that are skilled to take care of elderly patients or elderly clients that are not ill, but need support with activities of daily living. And this is where, because a lot of times you have your loved ones living with you, or you have to go to visit them every day to make sure they're okay. By the time you do that, going up and down, you will break down. And so that's what we tell people there's nothing wrong in asking for support. We know that we have the issue of financial implication, but I also tell people, don't take the burden on alone. You have 3 other siblings. Don't want to take over the whole care when it comes to the financial aspect. So you can ask for help. If the fee is A, then ask for somebody to give you a B and C. Also, we also recommend that family caregivers, because sometimes the clients stay with a family member. So you can imagine if an elderly person is staying with her daughter who is married. Must be a
Has
balance.
our own family issues.
That's it. Because sometimes the spouse wants time with the wife, and the wife needs to attend to her mother. So what happens? So this is where, you have a professional carer at home staying with you, even though the burden of your privacy is invaded. But at least you can create, let's have a room for mama. Or sometimes we've discovered that some people would prepare the back house and really do it up well. So there's privacy. So, it varies. If you have a back house, you can do up the back house and have, the carer there taking care of the loved ones. Or you can take care of your loved ones in your house. Or you can take care of your loved ones in his or her house, but have a professional carer there, because that will take the burden off you. If there's an emergency, the carer will get in touch with you, get in touch with the doctor, instead of you walking in and discovering something had happened and you're not able to handle it.
Kemi Oyedinro, thank you, ma'am. Kemi Oyedinro is saying there that thank you, Mr. Shitogun. You really touched my issue. Fantastic. I'm happy that we're helping somebody out there. And we have a question from Noma Ifana right there on the screen. She's asking, and I'm going to throw this question to Wesley. She's asking, how then do you come out of the distressed state of mind as a caregiver? Because my next question to you, Wesley, was going to be that how do you recognize burnout? And I think that, so we can match those two questions together. How do you recognize burnout, and how do you deal with the distress of being a caregiver, the burden of care?
Well,
Go
thank
ahead,
you,
Wesley.
Priscilla. I think I had to take a step back. I had to take a step back for myself. As a new clinician, I started out working with individuals who were traumatized individuals. And there was this string of days where I was finding it difficult to get out of bed. I was dreading going to work. And I found in some ways, during the days I was becoming very resentful to my patients and very resentful the burden that I had to hold day after day. And it took me having somebody else to say, hey, Wesley, I noticed you used to have this zeal and this passion for working with individuals who were traumatized, who were sexually abused. But now I find that you come into work late, you leave work early, you're not taking care of yourself in ways that you used to take care of. Even your appearance, you don't, you're not as charismatic as you used to be. And I had to, for myself, go into my own work with my own therapist that I had already been working with and say, I've hit a brick wall, and I'm not happy. I don't even want to pour into my patients anymore. So sometimes the thing that kind of helps you be able to say, I have burnout, it's sometimes just somebody else. And then you just, the other part of that is building in a sense of reflection into your practice, where you start really thinking about where you spend time with yourself, reflecting about, am I still doing the thing that I love? Am I still getting fulfillment out of that? And, or is this now just this thing that I do, and the people that I do, whether they get help or they don't, doesn't matter, because then you're not helping anybody. You need to recognize and how to go and get help for that.
Take a break.
Thank you. Dr. Abiri, is it wrong to take a break? That guilt, or the fact that if I leave this person, everything will go wrong and the whole system would collapse. And all that I've been doing then, especially if, God forbid, the person then passes on during that time. Or the fact that, maybe if I step back, everything will fall apart. Is it wrong to take a break?
Well, I would answer you very gladly, and I would say definitely not. There's nothing wrong in taking a break. There's nothing wrong in getting some respite care, even for yourself. You know how they always say on the flights, if the oxygen masks drop down,
Right.
put on your mask first. Self-care is not
Right.
selfish. Sometimes the only selfless thing you can do for yourself is to be selfish. You need to be able to recognize the signs, be sensitive enough to know when to step back, and be sensitive enough to know when you then need to also take good care of yourself. I'm happy that the question said state of mind, because the mind is so powerful, and how the mind perceives the care is what then, implies as to whether it is a burden or it's something you can do with joy. But of course, if the care is enormous, by all means, reach out and get help and support. Be open and honest with yourself. Ask yourself questions. Is it something you are capable of doing? Is it something you find joy in doing? If initially, yes, but later, no, it's time for you to then, sit back, relax, and hand over that care to someone else. There's nothing, definitely nothing
Mhm.
wrong in seeking help for your own self. And even if that help means that you also then need to go to a therapist, by all means, go to a therapist. And it's something that I also try to do in my own practice. That either you're bringing in a client that has schizophrenia, depression, dementia, substance abuse problems, I often advise that we have a relative management program that teaches you about what is going on and how you would, normally and abnormally respond, adaptive and maladaptive responses, and how exactly you can also take good care of yourself. So everyone deserves care. You cannot serve from an empty space. You need to refill every now and then. Thank you.
And
Priscilla,
that is
sorry,
speaking to every single person in this room. That is speaking
Priscilla.
to every single person here. Mr. Shogo, I want to read this to you.
I,
This is from Adekunle Fadipe. He says that this is timely because of the trauma caregivers go through these days. I would like to ask, how do you get the caregivers to listen to you in cases when their loved ones are dying? But honestly, I'd like to merge this with the previous question from the other person. The other person is asking about shame. He's saying that a lot of times we're not able to, he says shame still has a lot to do with responses. Families find it difficult to reach out for help. They consider asking for help as a failure of their responsibility. How do family members deal with the shame of having a loved one who even needs help in the first place, or who is even ill, depending on the type of illness that they have?
it's a societal, it's a cultural thing. It's just because we have it in mind that it's our responsibility to take care of our loved ones. Yes, but we can take care of our loved ones employing services of professionals. So that's why a lot of people, out of guilt, because when we talk about the shame, it's still the guilt feeling. And sometimes this guilt feeling comes from other pressure from other family members saying, why are you considering professional help? When you have this cousin that can help you, I can send this cousin. And then the cousin comes in just for 2 weeks and you're left alone after the 2 weeks. So it's just something we need to push out there and let people know that there is professional help out there. And we need, another thing is that confidentiality. When you're receiving professional help, the nursing agency you're getting the professional help for should not disclose any information from the client to anybody. So if you're nursing even the president's mother, you're not supposed to use that as a marketing strategy to get other clients, because sometimes losing, the trust, confidentiality, it makes people hide. But when you get, to meet these people or speak with them, you need to let them know that your secrets, your family, secrets, they're safe with us when it comes to health, and you're not supposed to divulge this information. So this is one of the ways we can use to, support family members that are feeling guilty. I'm also a family carer.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, you are, right? Yes, you are. And
Yeah.
writing on that, yeah. Writing on that, I like to read this comment from No My Fanga that says that I remember, No My Fanga, by the way, is my very good friend. I remember taking care of my grandma before she passed. Sometimes you feel you're not doing enough. I love the fact that she said that, because my question to Mrs. Fadikwe was supposed to be, how do you manage your time? This is a huge challenge when it comes to caregiving. You're asking yourself, oh, I have my personal life. How do you compartmentalize these things? How do you, because I know that the moment you're able to have a fantastic strategy with, putting all these things together, you would find your me time. Because I heard when Wesley did mention that it's okay to seek for me time. But how do you then seek for me time when you cannot find, space? Everything looks all put together, and I'm sorry, all clustered together. So, Mrs. Fadikwe, I want to ask you, how do you manage your personal time such that you're able, how do you manage, compartmentalize this thing so that you're able to, create time for yourself and also not feel guilty that you're not doing enough? That probably if you stop working, you probably will be able to have more time for yourself or for the person you're caring for. And maybe there are other children that you need to care for. Please go ahead.
And at the same time, you need a lot of money to care for the person. So
Right.
one just needs to find a way to manage things. Like you can engage the carer, like Mrs. Yutogo said. So once you involve the carer in the care of the patient or the relative, then it will be easy for you to go and look for money, because I'm sure Mrs. Togun's bill is not going to be easy like that. Yes, it's easy to say, I can care for you, can do all things, I trust your care, but at the same time, you need to find a way to arrange yourself so that you can as well get money to support. If you don't involve those who are experts in the care, then it will be burden. Then you continue to feel guilty. But if you involve those people that are experts, then it will be easy for you to think at the end of the whole thing that, well, I tried. And with what I have here for the solution to the guilt and the blame is that you speak up. Whatever the problem is, there's always solution. Once you speak up, you want people to come around to help. You can't just fold your hand and continue to say, then you seek help. When you speak to the right people, they help. Then once you see the help, like you have an aged mother in the house, you can't lock her in and go out, and she needs total nursing care. So you need to seek for help and let somebody come in and take care of the help. Then I want to at least appeal to our government to do something. Do something about all this situation. Somebody with autistic child or congenital abnormality, what does our government want to do for that child? You can't give that child to any other person to care. You are the only one that can see your copy, your figure in that baby and decide that, no, this child must not die. I must do. But at the same time, you have to work. But if you can come in and say, okay, if you have this kind of baby, bring the child at age 7. Let's put the child in a particular school where they help. You know, that one we ease the blame, we use the guilt, because you are not the only one caring for the child again. Some people see it as one of those things, while some people will see it as maybe you committed sin, and it's adultery, is this, that's why this kind of, you understand?
Right.
So
yes,
the best thing is to seek for help. And
thank you. Thank you so much. Our time is fast spent, and I would like to take our last words. I feel like we should be here forever. Like, this conversation should not stop. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself, and I know that we're helping loads of people. From the comments we can read, from the live comments, people are excited that we're talking about this. I saw that comment from Kehinde Oyeni or something, who was narrating an audio. Kemi Oyediro, who says a friend's husband locked her out because she sought a weekend break for herself when she was sick. How can you make such a man understand the wife's self-care when he couldn't care for her? You see that? I mean, so we have this cultural we also have this cultural filter that we have to deal with. But honestly, we can't exhaust all of the questions. And it all says, how can you convince other family members, for example, your spouse, that they need a break, or you need to pay for professional support? I mean, these questions will just not end. But unfortunately, we don't have all day, and we have busy professionals on our panel today, and I know they have to go back to their individual work. But I'm going to give you the floor individually to say your last words and whatever it is you want to leave with those who are watching us live and those who will watch the replay. Wesley, let's start with you.
Thank you so much again for having me a part of this really, really, really timely conversation. Priscilla, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of questions from a lot of different people. I would love to thank Ms. Fadipe for talking earlier about the fact that psychosocial care, psychosocial conversations need to be apart from the hospital in all different settings. This should not just be kind of like a one-off where we talk about this as professionals, but in all different levels, from the nursing agencies to the hospitals to common everyday, even at church. We need to start having these conversations in our community of color, because the truth is people are struggling in silence, and the silence is killing us. It's really just killing us. The shame is killing us. The idea that in some ways I've done something wrong, or I'm afraid to let other people know that my family is struggling, is killing us. And it's just becoming too much. I think that the other part of like right before this, I mean, let's start calling our government to become, really engaged in our families, because the truth is, if we as caregivers, whether it be nurse, whether it be a mother caring for somebody, if you say, I have nothing left to give because I can't take care of my mother anymore, and you start putting individuals, your loved ones, I get in the street because you just want to detach, then the government becomes responsible. So this is, in some ways, is keeping the cost down for the government. So we need to make them aware of that, and that they need to start doing things to help us come together and make communities whole and healthy. I don't care where you are, whether you be in the United States, whether you be in Tanzania, no matter where you are, our governments need to be engaged and required to offer and render help.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wesley. Dr. Abiri.
Well, I'd like to lend my voice by saying that no effort is too little, none too great, to ensure that, the caregiver also gets supported. I mean, the conversation this evening is about supporting the supporter. It's also important to know that it's a slippery slope between becoming burdened as a caregiver, and abusing, neglecting, or mistreating individual. If you start getting to that point where you don't even know that there's a blur, where everything just, is a continuum, where you're burdened and you start to treat the individual like they don't matter. We don't want you to get to that point. And it's the reason why, you must get rid of all the stigma, the shame, feeling like you need to explain to people why you need to get professional help for your loved one. If you feel like you are not equipped with the skills or the abilities to care for that person who is ill, you don't even understand what it is that they're going through, please, I beg you, by all means, reach out to the professionals. Mrs. Oshutoko is on this panel. Reach out to the professionals, reach out to Mrs. Fadipe, reach out to anyone who can care and support you while you are going through these difficult times. It can be a lonely road to walk on. I mean, people will talk whether you do or you don't do, but please, by all means, ensure that you keep yourself in good mental and physical health. Don't let your own health get crippled just because you're giving care to someone else. By all means, everyone has a role to play. In our practices, we have a role to play as we encourage and tell the individuals who are also giving care to others that they definitely by themselves need to be supported and cared for. Thank you.
That's super apt, because this brings to mind what my late mentor, I can't even believe I'm calling him late, Richmond Dyer Johnson, who passed on last month. And he would say this again and again, that we do not seek help because we are weak. We seek help because we want to remain strong. Dr. Biri, that was super apt, and honestly speaking, I agree with you 100%. I'd like to move on to Ms. Oshitogun. Your last words, ma'am.
Okay, when you hear people say, I'm not complaining, you'll know that that person is already stressed out. So what my own last word is, do not feel guilty. You need to ask for help. When you need the help, if you're a family caregiver and you need help, speak with your sibling, even if it's just to take time out, get out of that space where you're taking care of the person. Take a break, ask for help. When you ask for, because it's not all the time you need professionals. Because if the person you're taking care of is not ill, you might not need professionals, but you might need help from maybe your siblings or cousins or relatives that just need to step in for a few hours or a few days where you step back and relax. Do not, it's a lot of work being a family caregiver. So please do not, overwork yourself to the extent that the person who is a family caregiver now ends up in hospital or ends up even dying before the person being cared for. So please always ask for help. Another thing I'd like to talk about is that because of our culture here in Nigeria, nobody wants to hear about asking for help, see the psychologist, see the psychiatrist. You now start saying, God forbid. So it's something we need to also educate everyone in the society, that seeking for help from psychiatrists, from psychologists does not necessarily say that you are not, stable. It just makes you better. Thank you. And
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Mrs. Fadipe, your last words, please.
Okay, thanks so much. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Olaoye. You've done well by bringing these together. Then I think, Dr. Dabiri, I want to say here that we have to work together. But in all, I want to say we can stand up and fight against substance abuse in our society. It's becoming a menace, and we have to stop it because of our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I do agree that there is a need for you to work together with Dr. Abiri. Dr. Abiri is the medical director of Tranquil and Quest at Tranquil and Quest Behavioral Health, and they provide rehabilitation and therapy and intervention, total intervention for people who are dealing with substance abuse. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining me. I want to say this quickly as well, that Nigeria is not a welfare country. I mean, the welfare system is really poor, but honestly speaking, I believe that we're one of the most resilient people on the face of the planet. And Africans generally, I think there is something about the melanin in our skin that pushes us to be resilient, that pushes us to be tough. But every tough person as well has that breaking point. Every stretchy material has its elastic limit. You are not a superhuman, and it's possible for you to break down. So I would encourage that if you have the challenge, and I don't want to sound feminist, but I also want to say that, caregiving is also something that has been particularly attached to gender. It's expected that a woman should first of all care for the person who is ill. So if you see a parent having a child with special needs, you expect the woman to be the caregiver. I mean, there was just something about that dynamic. So what I want to say is, irrespective of where you are, irrespective of being pulled along the lines of gender, there's also the challenge of your socioeconomic status. So if you're not able to afford the services of a nursing agency like Presbyterian Nursing Agency, which, by the way, honestly, I believe that expensive is relative, in comparison to your wellness, in comparison to the time, your resourceful time, or what if you find caregiving rewarding, all well and good. But if it's the fact that you cannot afford the services, I would encourage you, rather than wait for a support group, start one. Be the person who probably you meet another person who attends the clinic with you, another family. Make friends with them, take their number, create time that you could just sit down together and just share, because there is power in you knowing that you're not dealing with this challenge alone. And if you're a nurse, a doctor, a psychotherapist, whatever role that you hold in the healthcare industry, this conversation belongs to you as well, because you are also a caregiver. I would also lastly want to say that please engage in self-affirmation. Let's take this quick announcement for our upcoming events, and we would conclude. We followed up this event. We're following up this event rather with our next event on the 8th of August, which, by the way, is my wedding anniversary. So on the 8th of August, we're taking the topic responding to bad news. We're going to be looking at this from different angles. Is he receiving it? Is he giving it? But honestly speaking, we know that this may sound negative, but it's unavoidable. So how do you respond to bad news? And afterwards, we'll take the next Saturday, we'll take this topic, health. I am not coping. That's going to be coming up on the 15th of August, 2020. Would love to have you in that conversation as well. For all those who probably are not joining us live, you could watch a repeat of this, and we really hope to see you then. Let's take this last message and then we'll round up.
The Peak Mental Health Network is recruiting volunteers. Are you passionate about people's emotional health? Are you passionate about teaching people how to live healthy lifestyles, especially lifestyles that will contribute to their mental wellness? We therefore are encouraging you to come in for our Train the Trainers course. And guess what? It is free of charge. We do not charge any amount. So we encourage you to come in for our Train the Trainers course, where we take you through our curriculum and then you become a mental health ambassador. Do you think you can take this message to other parts of Africa aside where you live? Then we'd encourage you to come join this train as we take this message of mental wellness to the continent. Our mantra is building a mentally healthy continent. Welcome.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're super excited that you're able to stay on for this long. For further announcement, please go to our website, www.thepeaknetwork.org, to learn about more information about us. We have an emotional literacy summit coming soon for children within the ages of 6 and 18. We want to teach emotional literacy, how to identify emotions, how to label emotions, how to mix and match emotions, and how to manage emotions. And this is for children between the ages of 6 and 18. You see, we don't have the kids are not left out. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's super exciting having you here today. Keep living, keep loving. From me to you. Bye-bye.